And we are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is my counterpart, Joe DeLeone. Good evening, good sir. The day before you head to Miami for Notre Dame, Penn State, how we doing?
Pretty good. It kind of has those night before Christmas feels, Blake, where you're
Nervous?
no, I'm not nervous. I feel to be very honest, and I said this on Hack City, the other show that I do. The whole playoff, I felt pretty good about every game. I was a little on edge for Georgia, but I was like a confident nervousness. I'm nervous for Ohio State. I'm not going to elaborate further. If Notre Dame wins this game and they play Ohio State, I'm just hoping the thing's close. That's all I'm going to say. I can't live through another 2012 Alabama BS like they had in the BCS championship game. Outside of that, dude, I'm excited. This is first playoff game I'm ever going to get to go to. Did you make it to any LSU playoff games?
No, I did not. Not 19. I did make it to a national championship game. I've been to big LSU games before, but a expansion playoff game I have not been. I want to, but here's the truth, which we're going to be live and doing a post game for the national championship game. You'll find out why. That's all I'd say.
Right.
So we do have some breaking news here by Ross Dellinger, someone that you know very well. He says a proposal from power conferences stand to remake NCAA governance and shift control of championships per documents obtained by Yahoo Sports. The SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, and ACC are seeking an expansion of A4 powers to include management of NCAA postseason events. Can you shed any light on that? I know that you've had conversations with Ross in the past, and I don't know if you have any knowledge of what's going on here. Do you have any idea?
To be a little more specific, I work with Ross. I'm Ross's producer for the College Football Inquirer. This makes a lot of sense because in the middle of recording, he stepped away and took a phone call, and I think that this is what this was. I'd be kind of curious if I kind of want to quickly read through this after the break, and maybe we touch on this after the break because this is pretty complex.
I mean, basically, what it seems as if is that they have the right for postseason for the NCAA and how they make it. All four conferences. You know what else that tells me?
Yeah,
expansion might be over for a little bit. You're not going to bring in the Big 12 and the ACC for expansion reasons if you're wanting them to diminish.
So what I'm reading from this here too, this is part of creating a new subdivision under the NCAA umbrella, which was a part of that plan that we talked about with Charlie Baker that he had originally proposed.
Will be very interesting. We're moving to a new age. So look, we'll just do this. I proofread it. Basically, Ross is saying that Greg Sankey announced or stated to him that this is very preliminary and this is just a conversation piece. So when it comes out, everybody should just go read the article. We'll put it in that hands.
Yeah. This sounds like this is not exactly news of anything like changing at the current moment, but this is, I mean, cataclysm. Like this is enormous for what this could end up changing.
Very much so. So go read it from Ross Dellinger. It's on Twitter. Joe, we got a lot that we got to get into here. Okay. We're going to start off with Matt Campbell. We do have a super chat from Cody. I'll just read a minute. We'll talk about Notre Dame. There's a lot being made about them joining a conference and then some portal stuff. But Cody does send in a $10 super chat. It says, Matt Campbell going to Chicago. I hate to say it, but I think Joe was right about Brian Kelly. He has reached the ceiling. Marcus Freeman brought Notre Dame to new heights that Brian Kelly couldn't do.
Is Cody an LSU fan?
Yeah, he's an LSU fan.
Okay.
Well, hold on. Brian Kelly got to 2 14 playoffs.
Yeah, but they got dog walked in every single time that they played in any type of.
He's been in a Final Four, is he not?
He has. He got every time that they faced good opponents. They got dog walked by Alabama, by
he didn't
Clemson.
get dog walked by Alabama his first year at LSU.
No. I'm talking about when he was at Notre Dame. Yeah, that was during the regular season, though. We're talking about these New Year's Six games in the playoff.
Coached in a national championship game at Notre Dame.
Yeah, he is, and he got his ass absolutely smoked.
Okay, so you can't say someone has reached newer heights when a guy coached a national championship for your school and the other hasn't.
I didn't agree with Cody in that statement that he's gotten to newer heights, but I think that this is a debate that I thought we were going to end up having last week, and I guess we didn't. I think that what Freeman has done needs to be recognized is the level of performance that they had for the first time in a playoff type game, in an important game, a New Year's Six game. That's what it was. In an environment like that, they actually played above expectation. That was what the problem with Brian Kelly was, and why Notre Dame fans were constantly so frustrated, Blake, is that we would get to the game, we would do everything we needed to leading up to the game, and then when we needed to actually play well in the game, Notre Dame would just not show up. And it wasn't even like, a little close for the beginning here. No. The first snap, the game was over. All those times. The Ohio State game that they played, I think that was the
Marcus Freeman literally lost the Ohio State game in horrible fashion a year ago.
That was his second season as a coach ever.
Okay, but you can't say a guy's exceeding something when he had some of the same issues.
But we're talking about right now in a playoff environment. One of the things that has been acknowledged by me and by Notre Dame fans is that this was a growing process. And Marcus Freeman got there a lot quicker than we thought he was going to.
They both got to the Final Four in their third year at Notre Dame.
Conceptually, yes, that is factually true. But hold on. But Brian Kelly, regular season lead up to get into a 4-team playoff. If there was an expanded playoff, and if that was Brian Kelly coaching against that Georgia team, the previous experiences and lack of success would have showed that they would not have beaten Georgia.
Well, you beat a backup quarterback in Clemson when he was there.
At home in the beginning of the season.
Oh no, it wasn't in the beginning of a season.
That was when they beat DJU. That was the beginning of the season.
Yeah, well, both coaches faced a backup quarterback in a high hostile situation.
We on this show and many other shows said that Georgia could be better and would be better with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. So I don't like that premise that's saying.
No, I'm just saying. Here's the problem from Notre Dame fans. Okay. I'll give you a lot. No, I was the one, not you're the one who was saying to fire the man. I was not saying to fire Marcus Freeman, just for what it's worth. I told you to calm down, okay?
Lost to NIU. I don't think that was an irrational take.
You need to calm.
Two G5 losses.
Okay, but you need to calm down on him. But there comes a part where I got to be real with you. I'm being factual. It's not an LSU thing here. Y'all try to compare everything to the man. Marcus Freeman in year 3, if he does not get to a national championship game, has underperformed based off of what Brian Kelly got to. Hold on. Underperformed for what Brian Kelly has done from a year 3 aspect. One guy built a program from the ground up and got there in year 3. He had something that was established and got there in year 3. Technically speaking, if he doesn't get to a national championship, one guy got to one in year 3, the other didn't. Isn't that how it's supposed to work?
There is an extreme difference between Brian Kelly being a head coach at multiple stops before he took the Notre Dame job. He coached a 12-0 Cincinnati team
and
before
he rebuilt
left.
Something. You were winning. You were barely over 500 when he took it over.
Understandable. What he did.
One loss when he took it over, Joe.
He did rebuild Notre Dame, and Marcus Freeman took it over from there. But Brian Kelly's best recruiting was at the end of his time at Notre Dame when Marcus Freeman took over as the defensive coordinator, and he was hired as the defensive coordinator and lauded as one of the best defensive coordinators in the country because he was a great recruiter.
What was your recruiting class this year?
Blake, we've pulled this up before. We've pulled this up before. There are so many times that people have pulled up. I don't have it in front of me or off the top of my head, so I'm not going to sit here and try to remember off the top of my head. But Notre Dame's recruiting under Marcus Freeman has been better than what it was under Brian Kelly. We're not talking about that right now. Hold on. I'm trying to finish with the point that you were trying to make. The point that you just brought up here, though, is that for Marcus Freeman, if he doesn't get to the national championship game and he falls a game short, it's completely different than Brian Kelly having 3 years to get there after a ton of time to have experience as a head coach, having a 12-0 season at Cincinnati, knowing what it takes to win, compared to Marcus Freeman, who was learning on the job. The guy was learning on the job. He didn't know what he was doing for the first 2 years.
It's so wild because 9 weeks ago you were calling for him to be fired.
And I admitted that I was wrong. That's not relevant to the conversation that we're having right now. They'll bring that up to throw the back of my face.
You beat Georgia, and you feel like that you think that you can say, with a backup quarterback, okay, that you can come in here and say, oh, we've made it.
I didn't say that we've made it, but this is better already than what happened with Brian Kelly.
Who has the most wins at Notre Dame?
Brian Kelly was there for 11 years.
Okay.
He's been one of the longest tenured coaches at Notre Dame.
Has he ever been to a playoff?
Knute Rockne would have had that record if he didn't die in a plane crash.
Been to a 4-team playoff, yes or no?
Has Marcus Freeman been to a 4-team playoff?
Now he has. Has Brian Kelly.
Yeah, he was in 2 and he got his ass kicked.
Until Freeman beats and wins a national title, he's not exceeded that expectation.
You're missing the premise here.
No.
The premise
hold on. I let you talk for 10 minutes on this damn thing. Here's the truth. Here's the God's honest truth. I love you to death. Notre Dame fans, you have not been there since 1988. Let me tell you something about what it looks like, about winning national titles. From a guy who's had multiple coaches that have won national titles in year 3. Oh, number one, they always say, well, he won it with the other coaches' players. They're not going to say that about Marcus because y'all hate Brian Kelly. The truth of it is,
literally none of the players that Brian Kelly recruited almost none are on the roster.
Literally not true.
It is.
Your leading sack leader, who's now injured, was recruited by Brian Kelly.
You named one guy. There's a bunch of freshmen that are starting.
Sure. No,
continue what you were saying.
Okay. There comes a point in time where you're trying to put everything on him. He sucks. He's this. He's that. His issues at LSU are not the same what we're talking about with Notre Dame. Two things can be true at once. But I guarantee you, and we'll talk about this in the conference thing, Joe, there comes a difference in time and place about y'all were literally saying that he can't get over the hump. And now that he's in a 14 playoff, he's God's gift to earth. Stand on your feet. Stop shifting all over the place.
No. Stop. You can't give me shit because I changed my opinion because there was new evidence. Don't do that.
Y'all's whole fan base, every time you win something of relevance to you, you say, Brian Kelly, my mentions will be full on Twitter. Brian Kelly this, Brian Kelly that. There should be one focus for Notre Dame right now. Go win the fucker.
Okay, I understand that, but Blake, you're missing. Wait, stop.
Milk coming out your titties, and you don't know what to do because you've never been here.
First of all, we're one of the most decorated programs in college football history. So to say that we haven't been here is wrong. That's just straight up wrong.
You won a national title.
Blake, you're misunderstanding where Notre Dame fans are coming from. It is not by a sense of
sensitive little asshole.
It's not. Let me talk. You just talked. Let me talk. It's not from the fact, Blake, of what you're saying here that, okay, get to a national championship like Brian Kelly, get to a 14 playoff like Brian Kelly in X amount of years. The problem is that Brian Kelly was getting there, and anytime during regular seasons that they were facing difficult opponents, they wouldn't win those games. They wouldn't win those games under Brian Kelly. They couldn't. Stop bringing that up. There has been a complete change and transformation for Marcus Freeman as a coach, and it has been recognized by every Notre Dame fan that he has improved rapidly.
What did I say about you that the whole fan base shifting their opinion on a man in 9 weeks is not factually true?
That's not. Blake, he lost to NIU. He had 2 losses to G5 programs. Of course we're going to be frustrated. Just like LSU fans were frustrated that you guys got smoked at home by Alabama.
You're damn right, but that's a different argument for a different.
No, it's not. You're giving me shit for changing our minds.
Brian Kelly's issues at LSU are different than a team, by the way, that plays an 80th strength of schedule. I think Brian Kelly would love
better
to be playing Army and Navy and NIU midway through the year than going on the road to Florida
Notre Dame's
Going
this
on the
Notre
road
Dame
to
team. If Notre
Alabama.
Dame and LSU played this week, Notre Dame would beat LSU.
Sure, they would. But historically, since 2000, LSU is up here and Notre Dame is below them.
Okay, but you understand there's a big reason why Notre Dame does not have the accolades that you're referring to. Because there was a man who was leading the program for 11 years who couldn't get the job done. His name was Brian Kelly. 11 years of my life wasted and all of our lives wasted.
Remember this, because when you win and you beat Penn State and you go on to face Ohio State and you get your outright shit kicked in.
Yeah, I know that this is all going to get brought up. I know it is, and that's why I said it off the top of the show. But
he's no better than Brian Kelly.
The irony, Blake.
Here's the headline coming out of Notre Dame. You ready? Same shit happened to Brian Kelly. We're in the same exact spot.
No, that is not going to be the same sentiment. Joe, I can promise you. And also, when are Notre Dame fans don't have Southern accents?
Okay, fair. Y'all don't have Southern accents. But here's the truth. And here's another thing that pisses me off. Shane Gillis's dumbass making fun of Southerners, okay, all the live long day, calling every Southerner a racist. First off, you got blacked out, drunk, and arrested because you're a dumbass.
He's a comedian.
Okay,
wait. Okay, to get back to what you just said a second ago, and I'm leaving it with this. The irony that I can't just get behind that is brought up is that pointing out the fact that Notre Dame in the past 20 years have not accomplished anything in the relevant era of college football. We haven't. But again, like I just stated, Brian Kelly was the coach for 11 years. He was a B-plus coach that did just enough for Notre Dame to be in the conversation, but never good enough to be national championship contending. Marcus Freeman has actually placed his team in a conversation for that.
You can't say that he never got to national title contending when he went to 3 playoffs in a national championship.
I'd be willing to
hold on. That statement coming from Notre Dame fans is factually stupid and incorrect.
I'd be willing to bet in 2012, Blake, that you and many other LSU fans were saying, because everyone in the country that wasn't a Notre Dame fan was saying that Notre Dame didn't belong in the BCS national championship game, that they should not have been playing in it. So that team, that Notre Dame team, was extremely overrated.
Was that Alabama team. That's what y'all don't get.
That's very true. But also, what is also didn't Alabama have a loss that year?
No, it was like the only undefeated season he had, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe he did. Maybe it was early in the year. I can't remember. Maybe you know who they did? I think they might have lost to. Maybe it was Hugh Freeze and the boys.
No, I don't think Hugh Freeze was there.
2012? Yeah, he would have been there. 2012, 2013.
Why do I? No. You know who it was? It was to Johnny Manziel.
Oh,
Johnny Manziel won the Heisman that year.
Yeah. Oh, Johnny.
I don't know. You okay? Well, you want to talk about Matt Campbell?
Matt Campbell very quickly. So there's a rumor that is out there. Not a rumor. There is a report out there that Matt Campbell, Iowa State head coach, is going to be interviewing with the Bears. Joe, God forbid the Bears hire Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell spent 5 years at Toledo. He had 35 wins. He averaged 7 wins a season. He's been at Iowa State for 9 years. He's got 64 wins. He averages 7.1 wins per season. They're going to go out here and hire a college coach that averages 7 wins to be the next head coach of the Bears?
It doesn't. This is one that's always been perplexing for me, just in general, for the landscape of college football and his name being brought up in conversations for big openings. He was somebody who was recognized as a possible guy for the Notre Dame job a few years ago. The craziest part about this, his name has been brought up, Blake, to the degree
head coaching search.
Well, but it's been to the degree that there have been stipulations that almost like Matt Campbell has put out there, he would only leave for a Michigan or Notre Dame or Ohio State job. But it's like, has he really done enough?
He averages 7 wins a season.
The weirdest part about this, look, Iowa State fans, you guys can keep him. He's done a fine job. He's at Iowa State for their expectations. They've been competitive, but they haven't won the conference. They haven't done the most important, relevant thing. Chicago Bears fans, I'd be pissed off as all hell if Matt Campbell was hired. Again, he must be a great interviewer. Like, he must be an awesome freaking interviewer if this is what he's able to drum up for himself, or he's got the best agent in the business, which is probably just Jimmy Sexton. I don't get it. I don't get it. It says here in 2018 he was requested an interview for the Jets job too. So this is the second time this has happened.
Listen, for the Bears' sake, they got to get serious about football. They got to get serious. I mean, they're not a serious organization. I'm going to tell you a story. We're not an NFL show, but this ties into Matt Campbell.
Right.
I personally know a human being that interviewed let's say a little bit around a year ago, a little bit less than a year ago. The worst interview process that this person had was the Bears. 100% know it for a fact. I think you can connect dots.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. This is what I was told. Verbatim. Not a serious organization. I want to win. They don't. You go and hire a 7-win per average coach in college football in what has historically been a weak conference. I don't give two Rudy Poos that he's at Iowa State. He's been in the Big 12. You're right, he hasn't. I would give him a little bit of grace because I think that, like Oklahoma and Texas ran that conference, right? We can't ignore that. But there does come a time and place where he's never had a massive season. Like, he got to the Big 12 title game this year and got blown out. If that's where you want to go, then my God, please do. Go ahead.
Well, I lost where I was going with what the heck was I going to say? I forgot. I completely lost my train of thought. Go ahead, pull up the super chat.
I make fun of him a lot.
Right.
Okay, because of the way that he bends his bill, whatever. I just don't think he's a good coach.
I remember I was going to say, it feels like if they did hire him, again, I don't know how serious this is. When Greg Schiano was hired by the Buccaneers, like, Rutgers was good, man. Rutgers was a good team, but did Schiano do enough to warrant him being hired by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? No, and the Buccaneers sucked when he was their head coach. And this is the same thing's going to happen. They'll be really mediocre. They'll win like 8 games. This just doesn't inspire me.
Listen, here's another thing. Matt Campbell could win out. We talk about this decade thing a whole long time. He's been there a long time.
Yeah.
Green Grass, $5 super chat says, ask Ruffino how many playoff games Kelly won. A big fat 0 in 11 years. Freeman 2 in 3 years. Well, that's a little bit different.
It's a tiny bit inflated, so I will admit that's not the greatest.
It's a tiny bit inflated.
Yeah, it's not the best context, but I understand what he's going for.
Again, I get that you're aggravated that he was there that long and you didn't win a national title. I trust me, as someone who went through Orgeron and end of Les Miles' tenures, here's what nobody wants to admit. Okay, LSU and Notre Dame are a lot alike in a lot of reasons. Sputtering head coaches in certain moments when you know that your place can be special, right? Like, sputtering head coaches. Brian Kelly he sputtered 1 year and he went 4-8. Right? Like, I understand that. Okay. I don't think people understand and where I'm coming from in the sense of, bro, y'all are more worried about talking about him on Twitter than you are beating Georgia and going and winning a national title. I checked in on a post-game show after you beat Georgia. Do you want to know the first thing that they said? Can I tell you the first thing that they said?
What?
Go ahead. Brian Kelly couldn't do that.
Blake, but you got to understand, though, that it's extremely relevant to the conversation. We spent 11 years. What was the longest a coach was at LSU?
Les Miles in the current era.
How was he there for more than 10 years?
Yes, around 10 years. He got to 2 national titles and he won 1.
Right. So it's okay. It's a little. That's not a good example because it's completely different. Circumstantially,
it is. The only difference is.
But he actually got you guys over the hump, though. He actually brought you guys back.
It's different, though. You got to understand what LSU was putting in the league at that moment in time. It's not like they're putting in Rudy Poos. Tyrann Mathieu was one of the only defensive players to ever get considered as a Heisman candidate. It's different because of all the Joe. There was a 7-year span they led the league in NFL players right there with them in Bama. It was a completely different aspect in time. I get what you're saying, but it's crazy to me that you're going to compete for a national title and you're sitting here and you're complaining about your ex-head coach when you haven't won it since '88. Champions.
Wait. Okay. But stop, dude. It doesn't. It is incredibly important and relevant. The guy literally, first of all, deliberately left. Okay, he got up and left.
You wanted him to leave.
Stop. Let me.
You wanted him to leave.
Stop. It doesn't matter the circumstance there. Yes, obviously we sit here and we talk about how we were glad that he left, but for somebody to have basically acted and on his entire way out has spoken to how he couldn't succeed at Notre Dame because he couldn't recruit at Notre Dame and all this stuff, the way that it was framed by him left a lot of Notre Dame fans completely disenfranchised.
And that's on him.
But it is on him. But you can't blame Notre Dame fans for looking at the last coach who was there for 11 years and didn't do shit. He is the longest, one of the longest tenured Notre Dame coaches, and then didn't win a national title. Notre Dame's used to investing into coaches that win. So to compare him to sit and waste 10 years of your fandom on a guy and then to compare the new guy to him is totally justified. You didn't fire him. He left.
Okay.
But you fired Les Miles.
Sure, because he didn't meet our expectations. And you know what championship programs and fan bases do? Can I tell you, as someone who's been to literally 9 of them. You ready? They don't talk about the ex-head coach like that.
Blake, find as many times. This doesn't happen often in the sport, by the way. This doesn't happen often where coaches leave and go to another school of the same level of degree of prowess, of competition. Oklahoma fans have been talking about Lincoln Riley because they feel very scorned by it. And here's another example.
Talking about him now.
LSU fans speak very negatively about Nick Saban, and it wasn't a direct. He took over your biggest rival. You're telling me that you don't feel some type of way about him?
But you said that we talk about him. Go to any LSU content where they're talking about him.
Obviously not currently, because that was years ago. But you guys
in the same. Well, first off, that's a completely different situation because y'all aren't even in a conference, which we'll talk about next, and we are. You got to play him every year. I'm telling you, you're not acting like a championship program, brother. You're not.
Fuck that. I don't mind you saying that like we shouldn't talk about him. I don't mind you doing that, but doing the whole that's not a championship program mentality, like fuck that. Come on.
It's not. This is the most debatable that we've ever been on this show.
I'm glad. Well, I'm posting this segment and it's going to be really
please do. Please do. And you know what? It's here's the thing. Let me ask you this question because we got to move on here. What fan base drives you the most crazy?
USC.
Okay.
Or I mean LSU fans for the amount in the past 3 years.
I was going to cut them out because that's a different beast. You have an internal beef rivalry. I was going to say Texas or Texas A&M personally. Okay? Because the way that they view themselves, okay, is not what reality sets in. Right? It's not. And until Notre Dame fully gets over that hump, here's what I've been told my entire life about Notre Dame. I agree. One of the pinnacle of college football. You got to put them there. I don't disagree with that at all. Not in the slightest do I disagree with that. I have 35 years old, about to be 35 years old. They have not done anything in my existence. So what do I know about them? Versus a team that I've seen do it multiple times, be second since 2000 in national championships under Alabama. I'm telling you, you don't act like that. You don't. If you've been to the dance, you don't act like that. I promise you.
Oh my God. I just don't agree with the framing of like how
you don't have to agree with it. I've lived it.
I just don't think the way that you're framing this is totally fair to do. It is completely relevant. It makes sense.
You're the ex of the bar that's mad that his old girlfriend walks in with another dude,
and the other dude's uglier. So I mean, like we're fine by it.
You still loved it.
Yeah, but here's a great example though. If you see your ex dating a guy that you think it, if you see that your ex is a dumpster fire, you're gonna keep bringing up your ex. Yeah, we were married to it for 11 years, but we love to look at the
national title. You got to a national title, and you're saying the guy that hasn't gotten you to a national title yet. You're the guy 9 weeks ago that half the fan base called in and asked to be fired.
All right,
you're
we need to move on.
Better than
you're
it's asinine.
It's not asinine. It's not asinine. Blake, I'm not rehashing what I said earlier. It's not crazy that Notre Dame fans and I and myself have walked back our statements because no coach
Notre Dame show because we're going to talk about them joining the conference next too.
Okay.
It's all about Notre Dame. The whole world revolves around Notre Dame.
Yeah, well, when Notre Dame's good, it's good for ratings. It's like when the Dallas Cowboys are good. Welcome to college football. Why do you think for 100 years they would send singular guys for national newspapers even regional newspapers to cover Notre Dame football? Why?
Because Catholic. That's
no.
All right, we got to get to a break. When we come back, should Notre Dame, the team that we've been debating about, we should just name it the Ruffino and Joe Show Notre Dame Show. Yes. Okay, we'll come back and talk about James. Speaking of Notre Dame, there was some interesting conversation today in a press conference with James Franklin when he stated, and I quote, "This is no shot at Notre Dame. This is no shot at coach, but I think everybody should be in a conference." Joe, there's been a lot brought up about Notre Dame and them needing and probably people think they should join the conference. I know you have been very steadfast on what you believe on this. What do you think that Notre Dame should do, and do you agree with James Franklin or disagree?
Well, one of the other things too with the full quote, and I listened to the whole press conference. There's a lot of thoughts that people have put out there on the way James Franklin was talking a lot during this. He also made a point to say that he thinks that everybody should be playing the same amount of conference games, which I don't know if that's him taking aim at the Big Ten for playing too many or taking aim at the SEC for not playing enough. The interesting angle that was where he also included in there. This is, I don't think is specific to just Notre Dame. A lot of it is him seemingly complaining about the entire landscape not being balanced.
It's not a shot at Notre Dame.
Right. But I think it is he created a shot at Notre Dame. I think it partially was deliberate because he was trying to mess with Marcus Freeman in some of his responses during this press conference.
Oh, he was taking some petty shots, all right.
Yeah, he brought him his hairline. He's like, man, look at that hairline. He asked him how old he was, which was in the context of a good question, but it was, he was trying to bug him
I think it was him trying to be funny. I don't think he
was trying to be funny, but I think he was poking at him. He was trying to poke at him.
Yeah, he was trying too hard. He was trying to be one of the guys and he missed, right?
Right.
In reference to this, though, are we pretty much on the same page that it kind of was like rolled off the shoulder of like this being a shot at Notre Dame? Like this isn't a literal shot. I felt like coming out of that, it was a more shot at the SEC and the Big Ten more than anything, right? That's how I felt to your point. I'm glad we agree on that. I thought we were going to actually disagree on that. The question, though, that I posed to you, should they be in a conference?
The problem here with that general question is that like the public is going to be on the side of Notre Dame should join a conference. Then the other side of this is should Notre Dame want to join a conference? And the answer to that is no. From a balance standpoint, yes. And for the future of the sport, if we're just talking about like just general landscape, Notre Dame needs to join a conference because in order for there to be a balanced field to be able to effectively pick a playoff bracket that we all know that everyone's played at least kind of similar. It's never going to be fully similar, but like kind of similar opponents. Yeah, Notre Dame does need to be in a conference. And I have said that if Notre Dame is forced into one, they should join the Big Ten because it is far more competitive and it is going to be better for their brand than would it be for them to join the ACC or even the Big 12 that sometimes people have tried to speculate. But Notre Dame has no reason with the current situation that they're in to even want to consider doing it. Because Notre Dame gets to take home $14 million up until this point and can make more money if they go to the national championship game because they're just playing in these games and they're winning and they're going on this run. They do not have to share any of that $14 million with their conference. For these conferences that have representatives, That $14 million that whoever ends up making it so far, the Big Ten gets the chunk of cash. Sure, Ohio State gets a big share, but a lot of that gets dispersed throughout the Big Ten. If Texas were to make it, a lot of the money that they would have earned for representing the SEC is going to get dispersed back to the SEC. So there's no losers for the conferences. So Notre Dame has no reason to, nor should Notre Dame ever want to. And this has always been the reason why, is that Notre Dame gets to control their financial future. And in the world of revenue sharing, having extra money to spend is huge. But just for the sport itself, yeah, I don't disagree. Notre Dame should have to be in one for a level playing field across the board.
I agree with everything that you just said. If I'm a Notre Dame admin or if I'm a fan, why would I want to join a conference? Right? Yeah. I mean, the only reason that I would want to join a conference would be because I'm an ultimate competitor. And reference to this, there could be a year where you're going up against Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State in the same year. Regardless of how you play them in a championship game or however that would go, you would be playing those teams. You're not playing those teams in a conference schedule every week, right? That's not happening. The reason I bring that up is I understand the fan side of it too. And like you said, for competitive balance, I went and pulled up Ohio State and Georgia this year, both teams that in the Big Ten and the SEC had the strongest strength of schedules. In 1 month, Georgia faced Bama, Ole Miss, Texas. Ohio State faced Nebraska, Oregon, and Penn State. I think that that's a little bit different than what Notre Dame has to go through. I get the whole it's not their fault. Now, next year in 25, they'll have Miami. They'll have Texas A&M. I forget that there's another big game in there. I forget who else it is.
Well, they did play Boise State, which is not the same, but
okay, calm down.
Well, they're playing a tough G5 opponent.
Okay, I'm not going there with you. We've already been yelling at each other too much. But I do understand the premise of what James Franklin was also saying. In his,
they play Arkansas. They get Arkansas, and then they also have USC, and that's the extent of it.
Right, there you go. So I understand what James Franklin's trying to say. I for what it's worth, I don't think it's a shot at Notre Dame. I really don't. I think he used that premise. Did you listen to him on Game Day with Nick Saban a couple of weeks ago?
Which quote are you referencing?
It was the one. Remember, he was on with Game Day with Nick Saban, and he asked. It was the clip that went viral about, Coach, you should be the commissioner, and it kind of spiraled and it went from there. He brought it up there too, because I remember it because I was watching it. He said, we got it, because he was asking, they asked him the question about playing SMU and Boise State. He goes, well, shit, I played in the Big Ten. I played 3 ranked opponents, and I just played Oregon and played for a championship game. I didn't place where I'm going to get seeded. We're in a conference. In fairness, I think that he's taking a shot at the Big Ten a little bit, if I'm being honest. He sure as hell is taking a shot at the SEC, just based off of all the context. If I'm Notre Dame, I'm not joining one, because you're right. Why would I do that in a TV revenue share world? It makes no sense. It makes 0 sense. I wouldn't do it. But to your point, competitive balance, I understand it. Okay. Speaking of Notre Dame.
Oh, look at another Notre Dame topic.
Speaking of Penn State, both teams have some significant injuries here, Joe. Abdul Carter, it seems as if, I guess he's going to go, but he's not going to be 100%. Jeremiyah Love practiced this whole week per Marcus Freeman. And I quote here, he should be fine. He's ready to go. What happens in a world, Joe, if let's just say these injuries are their status is fake and they're actually still kind of beat up? What happens for either team if these guys aren't able to go tomorrow?
Let's talk about Jeremiyah Love first specifically. And also, these statuses definitely are fake, because they're the whole press conference, the way that they answered it, extremely vague. Could not have been more vague. Like Marcus Freeman's quote was, J Love has had a good week of practice. That doesn't tell me shit. And he said, oh yeah, no one feels 100% right now. Yeah, that's true. But to what degree is Jeremiyah Love actually banged up? From kind of what I've heard, it sounds like he might be good to go. And we're kind of going off of a lot of this press conference, but the thing with Jeremiyah Love and the thing with having a running back like him, bringing him onto the field and the threat of having him on the field is sometimes all you really need. Sometimes you can bring him out there as a decoy and you just don't give him as many snaps and you don't try to deliver him as many touches because you know that he's not going to have that same level of breakaway speed. What has been Notre Dame's biggest advantage so far has been depth. And one of their deepest position groups that has stayed healthy up until this point has been running back. Jadarian Price has been a great running back, and he has been equally as productive as Jeremiyah Love. He is just not the same level of home run threat that Jeremiyah Love is. He is a little bit more ground you down and try and beat you through contact. Ainias Williams getting more touches and more opportunities to play down the stretch and in the playoff is good for this circumstance. Does this hurt Notre Dame? 100%. Notre Dame is going to need splash plays in this game to win, and your most explosive player isn't going to be there. But does it completely take them out of it, and are they screwed? No. There's ways to work around it, and they need to get those plays from Price, from Williams, and from some of their receivers.
Can I give you a hot take?
Okay.
I don't think Jeremiyah Love was even a factor in you beating Georgia.
No, because he went down pretty early.
Right. So yeah, you can do it without him. I've seen you do it without him. So I agree. It's so funny. We spent 30 minutes literally screaming at the top of our lungs.
How this works.
and then now we're agreeing on everything. I agree. Legitimately. You beat one of the best defenses. And look, Georgia is who they are. Defensively, they're still really freaking good. Miss me with they're not really good defensively. The thing I ask, though, here, Joe, is this. I still feel like that you're going to be a little bit better offensively, but I think you're just facing a better overall offense in Penn State, right? I still think that you're going to need him at some point, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, you'll need him in 10 days against Ohio State on the 20th if you so get there. I got to be real with you, man. I think that you can get by without him. I really can. Maybe he's 80%, 75%. He can give you some plays here and there, maybe a critical third down. You're not putting him in there every drive. The Abdul Carter thing is the big deal for me because you're going to have Riley Leonard run the football in this game. And what stops quarterback run more than anything? Athletic as hell edge guys. I will never forget this. Jane Daniels was asked last year. He goes, what? He was asked basically a question of hey, you have more attempts in these games versus you run. How do you know when to take off? I quote, if I have an athletic dude at edge, I'm getting the ball out quick and I am not running to his side. Same thing for Riley Leonard in a way, right? These guys are built the same. If you want to stop a really good attack from the QB run game, you have to have an edge guy that can be ready to go. I just feel like Abdul Carter, for what it's worth, because he's on the line of scrimmage, it feels more like a bigger deal for Penn State that they need him to win this one.
And also look back at the Boise State game for the beginning of the game when he was in. Defensively, they were dominating. And that was a hot start to the game. They were doing everything that they knew that they could do.
10 carries, 20 yards, if you remember.
Right. But at that beginning of the game, they were completely overpowering him, and Abdul Carter was off to a really hot start, and then he goes out and he's gone. And then those that middle period, second, third quarter was when they started to pick up a little bit of steam and almost get back into it and maybe almost challenge Penn State, and the rest was history, and Penn State kicked the shit out of them. And we all remember how that game went. But what I'm saying is that there's a little bit of evidence against a much weaker opponent that when they didn't have Abdul Carter, their defensive line was still really good. Their linebackers were still really good, but it just didn't have that same level of fear injected into an opponent. And I think the way that you just brought up there too is also really critical for this conversation. Riley Leonard winning this game is doing what he did against Georgia, which was extending the pocket, which was finding rushing lanes, which was evading pressure and getting just when plays were breaking down and nobody was getting open because his guy's never going to get open, he was just running and picking up yards. So he can't scramble if he's got Abdul Carter. I remember the Ohio State game, watching Abdul Carter go off against Ohio State and him get after Will Howard. It completely kept that game close, having him on the field.
He flustered Will Howard. Call it what it is. He was flustered. He was tracking him down, and it got bad for Ohio State. They almost lost because of it.
His athleticism is extremely notable. I don't. Same thing with Jeremiyah Love. It doesn't like completely kill their chances of winning, and it's not like, oh no, now they're screwed. But because you get denied Dennis Sutton, who's a tremendous player and who's also a first round talent, just not as productive as Abdul Carter. But I agree with what you said. There are going to be negative consequences to this for Penn State.
Well, look, I think about the fourth down that Notre Dame went for it, and Riley Leonard came up short, right? They were 4 of 14 on third down. Like, you just the line of scrimmage for me is always going to win this argument, Joe. 10 times out of 10, it's just going to win it. Like, I can't get over that. But I will say this. I think Jeremiyah Love will be missed in the red zone, though. I mean, man, God, Joe, both teams have really struggled in the red zone. I mean, it's I don't know if either team's going to score over 24 points. I'm serious.
I don't disagree. The over on this on BetOnline is 45. Hammer the under.
I might go under. I might buy a point just for the hell of it and say, you know what, let's.
Yeah.
But games aren't fun when you bet the under.
I know. Hey, man. Hey, no, defensive football's fun, damn it.
No, because you know what happens?
What?
Both teams are tied at 14 at halftime, and I start panicking.
Well, that makes it more exciting. Makes it more entertaining.
And we would call that in today's world, defenses have been okay. They gave up a couple scores, but they've been okay.
I thought you were going to say a gambling addiction. That's what I thought you were going
to. Man, can I be honest with you? I literally bet pretty much all of our games, and I just went money line on every single one of them. And I'm like, why in the world am I like $700 up? It's because I didn't do any of the stupid parlay stuff.
Right. Well, and it's, I mean, if you're doing money line on like some
every
of those
single
the spreads are so big on some of those picks that we had. But I mean, it's a winning strategy for how well we did.
Well, I tell you, I bet Ohio State every week to win. You know another team I bet every week to win?
Who?
Notre Dame. So people get on my ass. I've never picked against Notre Dame other than last week for them to win.
Notre Dame has been really good against the spread this year. By the way, next year is a little bit of a, I haven't talked to you about this with you yet. We're picking against the spread. We're not doing straight picks. We're picking against the spread for 10 games. I want a little bit of we need to make it a little more challenging.
No, the only reason I do that is because it makes our numbers look inflated. It's like playing a Notre Dame schedule. We just want to inflate our numbers. I mean, game day does it. Shit, we have better records than Nick Saban. He knows more about football than both of us.
That's a good point.
Combined. All right. Before we wrap it up here, Joe, there is some portal news. Little old Clemson in the portal again. Joe, I got to be real with you. I never thought the day would come that he'd go in the portal. Here's the truth about Dabo Swinney entering the transfer portal. Yeah. He doesn't have a choice. Did you see the high school recruiting class he just brought in? What was it, 11, 12 guys?
It was awful.
He doesn't have a choice. He doesn't want to go in the portal. He's got to. And listen, this kid, Jeremiah Alexander, the edge rusher linebacker from Alabama, he may be a good kid for Clemson. I don't know. He may be an all-star. No clue. He has 9 total tackles at Alabama. 9. I mean, like, I have no idea if this kid's going to even bring you production. I'm glad that Dabo's portaling, and I see all of us wanting to be excited about Dabo portaling because it's like, hey, man, okay, cool. You took a lot of shit. You realized you kind of had to, but this is – Joe, he's not going to be able to fill out a full 85-man roster. This ain't got nothing to do with the fact that he legitimately, like, has changed his mind. He's got to.
Right. He's put into a very challenging position here. He's a very completely challenging position because he has to. But
what's he going to do with TV revenue share?
It's a good point. But I would argue, though, you kind of need, and that's been the theme this year for a lot of big changes for teams and massive improvements, is you need a wake-up call. Specifically on the field for Ohio State, it was the Michigan game. For Notre Dame, it was the NIU game that they lost at the beginning of the year. And here for Dabo Swinney is losing to Texas, having a shit high school recruiting class. It was a wake-up call. Now, I don't think this portal class completely transforms their success next year, and bringing in a backup quality Alabama player, this kid might not even step on the field. But I think that these are better signs, though, that he can attract talent from, and he's not just grabbing FCS guys because he's desperate and he just needs to fill the roster. Him getting Will Helt is a very big deal. I'm telling you right now, if we're talking about Will Helt as a sack leader and one of the best defensive linemen in the country next year, I wouldn't be shocked, because him playing on that coaching staff that is churned out great defensive line talent, understandably Venables hasn't been there for a while, but the new approach for Clemson is why I'm actually optimistic. I've been so critical of Dabo about every misstep that he's taken in the past 5 years since his last national championship game, but he's turned it around. This is a change in philosophy that I think eventually is gonna pay dividends.
I just don't think that this kid is the one that I'd be celebrating. Like, here's what he really should be doing. Patrick Payton in your own conference goes in the portal. Clemson should be on every single one of these. But you know what's crazy, man? They still got some pretty damn good talent. I mean, they do. The middle linebacker, the Wesco, Klubnik was not bad at all, I don't think. I mean, bro, did you know Klubnik had 40 total touchdowns this year?
Yeah, he had a huge year. As a runner, he had a big year. He had a little Heisman buzz. It was a little unjustified, but he had a little Heisman buzz.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't the reason they sucked.
Right.
I mean, here's another thing that I heard from them too. To what receivers? Everybody says their wide receiver room is horrible, and I'm like,
no, they got some dudes actually. Well, but they're just young. They're young.
Well, I mean, he tossed the pill around 35 times in the end zone.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, I think Clemson next year is going to be, with that receiver room, with Klubnik taking the step forward and then just getting a little bit more of defensive reinforcements. I think they're going to win the ACC. That's going to be my pick.
Ooh. I hope they don't, because LSU will go up there and lose, and I can't deal with that. I get it though, but let's not. I'll just end it here. He's got to do it. He doesn't have a choice.
Yeah.
So good on Dabo for adapting. I mean, he doesn't have a choice either with TV revenue share. Doesn't want to do NIL. Brother, I remember when Corey Foreman left your church with you on a Sunday and posted on Snapchat him holding money like this. He took the whole pew money. Like, don't act like you ain't been paying players. Like, come on, bro. I still got that Snapchat screenshot if anybody needs it. Like, come on. Corey Foreman. Where is Corey Foreman, by the way?
That's a good question. I haven't heard that name in a minute.
Fresno State.
Is he playing?
I have absolutely no idea. All right, last thing here before we get out of here. Joe, Evan Stewart, the wide receiver from Texas A&M in Oregon, has also advised that he is going to be returning for Oregon. Joe, I think it's an outright great decision for him. Evan Stewart had some big moments. He just has not hit that ceiling where I think that everybody thought that he could hit. Could he do it in his final year here at Oregon?
I really think that he's going to take the next big step here, and I'm glad that Evan Stewart's going back. Him being a part of that team and helping them get to that next step of them winning playoff games and maybe winning a national championship this next year. I really like that for him, and it's been a huge development and growth for him since his last year at Texas A&M and now at Oregon. He was a huge spark plug this year. He could have been one of the top receivers taken in the upcoming draft, but there's a real shot that if he continues his production with his athleticism, that he could end up being the first receiver taken in the following year. Because the next class is kind of thin off the top of my head. A lot of the best receivers are going to be in that Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams class, but having Evan Stewart back is going to be huge for Dante Moore. And it's going to be huge for this Oregon team.
Zachariah Branch would be the two, right?
Probably, yeah. And both getting different opportunities in different places here. But Evan Stewart, I think that Oregon, this is extremely significant because they need to not miss a step. They can't lose a stride.
He was the number 2, and Tez Johnson was the guy that was above him. Now, I'm not saying Tez Johnson's a bad receiver at all. Is he a bona fide number 1 in your opinion, Tez Johnson?
I don't know if his play style. Okay, well, the way that they use their receivers, though, it doesn't really.
So stop right there. He was the second or third option at Oregon. At A&M, he was the first option, and he had the same amount of production. Joe, I think that there are some. Yeah, he had about the same production. From his first year to his third year or second year, whatever it was. I mean, he's around 500 to 600 yards. You can look it up. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not wrong because I looked it up. So he was at 48 catches, 613, and 5 touchdowns this year. He's been around the same every single year. I know that he has the talent to take that next step. I don't know if he's going to have to show that he can get there. Again, very talented. Can he be that true number one guy is my question for him. Not saying that he can't, but I'm wondering, he's got the athletic ability. I feel like he takes some plays off. Like if he feels like the ball's not coming to him, he'll take the play off. That's why I'm trying to build up to if you came out to me next year and said that Evan Stewart led the country in receiving yards, I would not blink an eye. If you told me that he went for 700 to 800 yards, I'd be like, that's probably about right.
That's it's a fair question. And maybe Dante Moore is able to play in this offense a little bit differently than Dillon Gabriel, and he's able to stretch the field a little bit more. I come back to the conversation that we had the other day, though, Blake, is like, who else steps up? If Evan Stewart's the only guy and they're bracketing coverage in his direction, it's probably going to be hard for him.
Corey and Moore come in there and go off.
Right. But this is what I'm getting at, though, is that with all those question marks of like who the second and third options are going to be, having him and having somebody who has at least 600 yards of production and the big game impact that he had, that is what Oregon needs to not lose a step, making this huge transition. They just lost Connerly to the NFL draft. So like to lose a lot of guys on offense, I think is pretty significant.
Hey, also, did you see that the Hughes kid from Tulane, the running back?
Yeah, they got Micaiah Hughes, which is a great ad for them. That kid's good. He's a good player.
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. I mean, okay, we'll see. All right, Oregon, we see you. All right, Joe. Good luck on the game. I do hope that you have fun and your team comes out on top. I really do.
If they lose, you're not going to hear from me for like 4 days.
You're going to come in here and scream that Marcus Freeman needs to be fired.
No, I'm not going to do that because he did some great stuff to get him here. But thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. We'll see y'all on Sunday or maybe before then. Who knows?
Yeah.
See you then. Y'all have a good one. Peace.